Welcome to the Rice Field Archive. Tonight we return to the old stories of Vietnam with the legend of the durian fruit. So make yourself comfortable and let this tale begin. The legend of the durian fruit. Long ago, during the time of the Tây Sơn, there lived a young man from the region of Đồng Nai. He was gifted in both literature and martial arts, and had once taken up his sword in response to the people's resentment. Several times he had led troops into battle, forcing the followers of the Nguyen lords to flee. When the Tây Sơn dynasty fell, he returned to his homeland and hid his identity by working as a teacher for children. Then, suddenly, terrible news spread and shook everyone. Gia Long had just gained victory over the land of Viet, and he began killing those who had once served the Tây Sơn. Depending on their rank, he punished them cruelly. High-ranking officers were tortured and executed. Lower-ranking officials were beaten with sticks or flogged. The villagers, who had always loved and respected the young man, urged him to flee far away. They gave him money, rice, and everything he might need, including a small covered boat for his journey. Not wanting to fall into the hands of his enemies, he left. He traveled upstream along the Mekong River, deep into the land of Chenla. One day, he moored his boat and went ashore to buy food. He stepped into a roadside inn. Inside, an old mother sat in sorrow beside a young girl who lay unconscious. The two had been returning from offering incense on the mountain when the daughter fell gravely ill. Since the young man was skilled in medicine, he did everything he could to treat her. In the end, he helped the girl recover. And since he had his own boat, he took both mother and daughter safely back to their home. The girl was unmarried and already of marriageable age. She was gentle and beautiful. Naturally, the sudden arrival of a young Vietnamese man from a faraway land, now staying in her house, made her heart grow attached to him. After a week of fasting and giving thanks to heaven and Buddha, the mother told them that Buddha had appeared in a dream and instructed the two to marry. The young man gladly accepted this new life. From then on, he had a place to call home. The girl's family worked in the fields and raised silkworms, and he was able to help with all of it. Years passed, like a dream. The husband and wife loved each other dearly, inseparable like a pair of doves. In the wife's garden, there was a fruit tree called Durian, a tree that did not exist in her husband's homeland. One season, when the first fruits ripened, the wife climbed the tree, picked one, cut it open, and offered it to her husband. The fruit had a strange and unpleasant smell. Seeing her husband frown, she said, "Just eat it, and you will know how rich and sweet it is, just like my heart." But one year, after returning from offering incense, the wife suddenly fell ill. Her husband tried with all his skill to save her, but he could not. Death tore the couple apart without warning. No words could fully describe the husband's grief. Yet the two still met in dreams. The husband promised that for the rest of his life, he would never marry another. And the spirit of his wife promised that she would never leave his side. Later, hearing that Gia Long had stopped hunting down his old enemies, the young man's relatives in his homeland sent word for him to return. The villagers also advised him to go somewhere else, hoping it might ease his sorrow. At last, he had to say farewell to his second homeland. Before the day he left, his wife appeared to him in a dream and told him that she would follow him to the ends of the earth. That year, the Durian tree, strangely, bore only one single fruit, and that fruit fell by itself into the fold of his robe just as he came to visit the tree that reminded him of his wife. Overjoyed, he decided to bring it back with him to his homeland. He returned to his old profession as a teacher. But the sorrow he carried in his heart never faded, he planted the seed of the Durian fruit, raised it into a young tree, and planted it in his garden by the gate. From then on, besides teaching, he had one more task: caring for the precious trees. His Durian trees grew stronger day by day. Another 10 years passed. The young man of the past now had hair streaked with gray, but the old man's heart suddenly felt young again when he saw the trees he had tended for so long begin to flower and bear fruit. Happily, he invited his relatives and neighbors to attend his wife's death anniversary meal, and at the same time to taste a strange new fruit, the first of its kind in the region. When the Durian fruits were brought out and placed on the table, everyone immediately noticed their unpleasant smell. But the host, understanding their reaction, spoke first. "It may be ugly and it may smell foul, but the flesh inside is beautiful and fragrant, like the deep love of a young husband and wife." As he spoke, he cut open the Durian fruits and divided the flesh for everyone to taste. Once swallowed, the fruit revealed an unusually rich and sweet flavor. Then the old man told them the love story he had kept hidden in his heart ever since returning home. He told the story on, and when he finished, 2 shining tears gathered in the eyes of that faithful man. They fell directly onto the piece of Durian he was holding in his hand. Suddenly, the 2 teardrops began to bubble and hiss on the fruit's flesh like lime meeting water. Then they slowly soaked into it, like water sinking into a brick. 3 days after the memorial feast, the man died suddenly, though he had not been ill. From then on, whenever the villagers ate that fruit, they remembered the man who had brought and planted its seeds. They remembered the story of his faithful love. So they changed the name Durian into Riêng, a name that means a sorrow of one's own, in memory of the loyal love between the man and his wife. People also say that only the durian trees descended from the seed, touched by those 2 tears, became the truly delicious kind of durian. And with that, our tale draws to an end. The Vietnamese legend of the durian fruit. If you enjoyed this journey into the old stories of Vietnam, consider subscribing for more legends, myths, and forgotten tales from this land and beyond. Until the next story, sleep well, and thank you for listening.